All right, folks. Welcome to another one of these goofy gaming news things, aka stupid gaming news.
People love it, man.
I'm not sure about that, but it is what it is.
And
So
people seem to like it.
this is gonna be a shorter one because there's not as much to talk about, and it's partially reiteration of something stupid already happening. But we're gonna go back to this whole thing with more changes Nintendo's listing, more rumors, and one other thing that's also kind of stupid. So we're going to start with the whole issue with Nintendo's approach to physical media. We're not going to get into the whole pricing thing because we've already beat that into the ground, and it's not
And it's
likely to
already bad.
change. They're already talking about raising the console prices again based on what they think is appropriate. And frankly, yeah, I couldn't give a shit because they're
Well,
going to do in that what they're going to do.
they've given
Um,
themselves an excuse to constantly raise the price a
yeah,
year
pretty
after year.
much. So that whatever. Now, what we're going to talk about this time is, at least initially, the whole
Yeah.
issue. Which, by the way, the guys at Arc System Works, who happen to be a developer company that I kind of like, because they've done some of the River City Girls games, Double Dragon Gaiden, which is playing in the background right now,
Yeah.
and a couple other things. Apparently, they're the ones who let the cat out of the bag on this one. Because
Uh-oh.
apparently a statement came out from Arc System Works, whether it was delivered or not, I don't know, explaining some issues with Nintendo's cartridge system, like their new SD card thing and how they want it to
So,
work.
so what did they do?
Well, for starters, their things are basically from what they've said. It hasn't been 100% confirmed, but they're using these SD cards kind of like a key card kind of thing for
Which
digital
is
games,
odious.
especially in the term of first party titles. Now, with third party titles, they're doing something else. Apparently, the standard, quote unquote, for their cards. Does anybody here remember N64 era with
I
Nintendo?
did. I still hate the N64
And
era.
when it came to, there were development issues for Nintendo titles on the N64 because Nintendo insisted on using the cartridge format when everybody else was moving to optical media, like DVDs and Blu-rays.
Which I
Well,
don't hate the cartridges, but it did
no.
help ruin a lot of Nintendo's place in the gaming
Yes,
market.
it did. Because they insisted on doing that proprietary cartridge thing. Well, it looks like we're just going to repeat history because
Oh,
Nintendo has announced that they will only support exactly one type of 64 gig SD card for any games. That is the demanded format. It is the only supported format for the Switch 2. So you cannot use bigger cartridges. The file size is exactly what the file size is, and that's it. Now, to be fair, this is not much different than the whole issue with the original Switch, but it shows a refusal to make any kind of changes, which is what it is. But then on top of that, you have the whole first party titles are going to basically use this as like a fucking physical version of like a Steam key kind of bullshit.
so what's the point of the console?
I don't know. And
I
there's
mean, I
still
mean that
plenty.
in a
No, I get your point. It's like, it's what is it at this point? You might
can
as well have just made a purely digital machine and been honest about it, I guess, at that point. But
can I espouse upon this a
please.
little? Okay, well, the immediate question I have is when I think of advocating for the customer, right?
Mm-hmm.
I always think, what is the best thing that will give the customer the best bang for their buck? What about this, beyond it being a imprisoned garden, effectively, for Nintendo, is there being offered to the customer when it comes to this thing? Because I'm sitting there going, okay, well, there's not really any benefit over this other than unless you have a real psychotic need to play first party Nintendo games to have a Nintendo. Why not just get a Steam Deck? I've said it multiple times
I
before.
know.
If you're gonna focus or basically give up on actually owning really anything, they're going to surrender the third party market. What's the point of the the Switch 2, other than it's being an isolated little garden for them to try to become Apple.
I mean, I'm really kind of the wrong person to ask about this because I'm not really in support of any of this.
I'm
It's
not
all
saying you
theoretical.
are.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying it's all theoretical to me. I don't get it.
Well, I just look at it and I go, okay, well, this is the thing this is like. Why would you get this over the other? Because if you're just going to surrender your ownership, really, and you're not really getting much in terms of physical, because they clearly want you to buy digital.
Yeah.
Um, what's the value over it? Because I just don't see it. Because this system's not going to have value past the time it stops being supported. Because you're not going to be able to have like a retro thing,
Well, if they're
really.
handling their media the way they're talking about, then yeah, I don't know what future there is. And I've already seen the people who are, and it's also on the whole thing. It's like when you look at the fact that Gen Z and a good chunk of millennials are like, no, I want physical media.
Yeah.
It's a bad move to begin with in that. And you've got some of the weirdos who I saw some people in the comments on one of the videos I looked this up on. It's like, well, I'm already switching full on to digital media, bruh, because that's the future, and this is obviously blah. I was like,
Wow.
no.
So they got onto a trend 20 years in the making.
I'm like, so you're an idiot and you don't understand what this means for the future. Okay, fine. That's your deal, not mine. So I'm not even going to dive into the issues with that anymore. I've been over and over the preference for physical media in the long term.
I'm just confused by the value proposition here. Like,
You
I
got me.
don't see um, where it has a value over a lot of other options, especially when you're talking like you're going to be spending about the same amount of money. You're
Yeah,
going to be getting
probably.
about the same thing, but you'll have more options with one. And I'm sitting there going, I just don't see how this is a good plan other than short term.
It's because it isn't.
Because it's just disingenuous with your customers, and it's kind of burning some of the few things that made Nintendo have the market share they did.
You mean
So yeah,
any kind of longevity where people
yeah,
can,
like
normally people could play Nintendo games years later. That's the one thing you could say about them when you actually got their physical media. Now they're
it
trying to burn that away,
it feels very much like they are focused on milking millennials, and they're giving up on building that
trying to
family
build the
market.
Gen Z or family market.
So effectively, they're not actually replenishing the pool. So if we
Hmm.
take it like fish, they're overfishing the millennial fish, and they're not replenishing it with Gen Z or Gen Alpha, because they're kind of slowly chasing those people out of having the nostalgia for them. So it really just kind of seems like they're trying to milk one audience, but maybe that's just my take on it.
I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea. Um,
It's like pharmaceutical companies trying to milk boomers.
it kind of feels that way. And that's not even the worst thing here. Like, we've been over that whole digital media issue before.
Yeah, it's a nice aside, but when you start making
Yeah.
consoles, it's like, okay, well, part of your appeal is the physical end. If you start eliminating that, you are not better than Steam. I'm sorry.
No. So that's the one issue that's been coming up about the whole, like, the physical format and the limitations, and it really does feel like some people said, like, they're just trying to use it to try to force people into the digital marketplace because it's so much more difficult to deal with the physical media. Where, say what you want about Microsoft and Sony, it's still easy for third parties to put something on a disc, you know?
Well, they really want to pocket more of the money. That's what it comes down to.
Basically, yeah.
They're not like, if Nintendo starts trying to cry poor, it's a BS freaking thing. This is about milking more money, and honestly, I think that maybe Nintendo in the long term thinks they're not going to be a console.
Who
You
knows
know?
at this point? Um, so we'll move on to the next bit of stupidity.
Yeah. What's up?
Now, bear in mind, this is purely a rumor at this point, because there's been kind of conflicting reports on it. But recently,
Mm-hmm.
after the ongoing Pal World litigation, and I'm only going to just hint on that, touch on that just as part of the conversation, where Pal
Yeah.
World revealed they're having to remove more features from their game because of the litigation still going on, with Nintendo claiming more features of their game are infringing on their copyrights.
Yeah, as
They
they
just keep
put in,
adding things.
they file for patents after they
Yeah,
started
after the
lawsuits
fact.
over them.
So there's that issue. In the light of that, Nintendo issued a statement recently insinuating, granted not saying anything that could be actionable, but insinuating that if you breach some of their normal TOS stuff, they're not just going to close down your account or, cut down some of your digital purchases. They're insinuating they're going to basically find a way to cause your system to be non-functional.
Well, yeah, they can do that.
E.g., brick the system, which is not something you're supposed to be able or legally allowed to do.
I would dare them to do it because the legal chaos they will end up in the United States would probably hurt them pretty bad.
And I've seen the issues already coming up with people going, oh, that's hyperbole. And some people going, oh, well, they can't really do that.
They
And under some
can.
circumstances, I would say other consoles, maybe you can't actually do that because there's limitations to that, especially if you disconnect it from the internet. With the weird way I've seen this console designed so far, with all these they baked in fucking features and shit, maybe they probably could. And the fact that
Uh,
people are saying they wouldn't do that is completely ignorant, I
well,
think.
those people are either disingenuous or stupid.
I
And
mean,
honestly,
Nintendo has shut down like pro Nintendo gatherings and tournaments over petty shit. Shit
well,
that literally gets them free advertising.
here's the thing, and I doubt a lot of people know about it. This is a small side, but there's a real concern in third-party purchases of Switch things because Nintendo
Oh
has
yeah.
actually threatened in the past that they will brick people's their things by going through the account.
Yep.
And what's happened in that regard is because you have people making copies of them, but they use the same registry.
Yep.
They all of your games have a registry. They're keeping track of it. They're already doing really odious crap. They're not telling
Yeah,
people
because in,
about.
in their in their quest for the whole anti-piracy thing, and we've seen this problem plenty with PC too. Because I'm sorry, even if you hate a company, don't buy their games. Don't steal the shit. Just don't buy it. Fuck it. Get something else. I don't support piracy. I don't care who it is. It's stupid bullshit and it's criminal, and I'm not engaging in it. Every motherfucker's like, sail the high seas, bro. Fuck off. I'm not stealing shit. Sorry. But that aside, there's been this issue where they've said, well, if you get these pirated games, we're going to shut you down. And it's like, okay, but the problem is, some of these assholes, counterfeiters, have gotten so convincing, it was getting hard for people to figure out when something was not legit, and then they'd end up paying the price for something that might not even be their fault.
Well, yeah, well, that was one of the legitimate fears with people
Yeah.
buying third-party things. Now, they could technically do it, but is it an easy thing to do? Is it bluster? We don't know at this point. But let's just take a step back from
Looking at Nintendo's
can they?
history, it's not hard to imagine them
Well,
doing this.
let's not even like let's say they can't do it. The fact that they're
Even
threatening
threatening it.
is a ridiculous situation to begin with. Like,
And it's incredibly tone deaf, too, when they've already had so
well,
much bad press.
look at the fact they do not respect their customers.
Doesn't seem like
They
it at all.
think their customers are dumb shits that they can effectively abuse. If they feel confident enough to literally threaten to brick your physical purchase, this would be like them saying, "Oh, well, we're going to turn off your old Nintendo carts," and you're
Yeah.
like, "Well,
The
okay,
fuck?
you
Yeah.
can't do that." But the fact that you feel you have the cojones to threaten me that way, like, can people not focus on this company does not in any way respect its customers. They
Yeah.
just feel owed to your time, your money, and everything else. And I mean, if you're as much of a gutless weasel as some of these people, and you're gonna purchase it and go, it's not as
And
bad, guys, when you get on your knees.
not
But
only that, but this
jeez,
new clown Bowser, the one they inherited from EA, has
uh,
also just made, at least in a publicity sense, made things worse because he's publicly made this big deal about how they're doubling down on supporting DEI at Nintendo when other companies are actually shying away from it because people don't want it.
I'm
It's like everything Nintendo's doing right now is so anti-consumer and batshit. It baffles the mind.
I'm
It's actually worse than usual.
I am completely amazed at the thing is that people are glossing over just this kind of behavior, and I'm like, well, I don't see a company. I see a company that thinks it can milk its fans, but what's their long-term strategy?
I'm not
If
sure
they
that they
keep
have one.
burning goodwill, because I'm kind of confused by it, honestly. But hey, the fact that they feel confident enough to threaten their own customer base, I think should speak enough for people to at least go, hey, maybe I don't need to purchase this Switch 2 right now.
If anything, I'll say,
Maybe
if
I could
anything,
wait.
use it as a reason to wait and see what they actually make good on in terms of both threats and promises. And they haven't promised much. Let's be honest here.
Well, they've just threatened. Well, they've promised to increase prices, and they threatened their customers, and that's just about all they've done.
They've threatened
So,
lawsuits against any third party that dares have something vaguely similar. They've promised to raise prices of games. They've promised to completely screw physical media in terms of Nintendo
I,
products and first party. They've promised to take measures to stifle third party physical media production.
but
And go ahead.
I want to say this before we move on from this. I would like to congratulate the Microsoft fans and the guys who have those consoles. I know we've all been sitting there. We all expected, even you guys, for the company to pull this odious BS to be Microsoft. But I think we can all congratulate ourselves and say, hey, it's the Japanese company that everyone had an inordinate, unhealthy idea about them being the good guys.
And the last thing we're going to talk about that's vaguely in connection to this is somebody going on is the whole thing about like all the game prices we've been talking about, because now there's talk that again in first party, and we already talked about this, that Sony said they were pondering raising the prices of in-house produced freaking titles. Well,
Yeah.
who's surprised by this? Because Nintendo pushed this whole stupid thing. Microsoft immediately, like a bunch of idiots having the worst selling console in the generation, decided to jump on it. So if it's going to become the industry standard, yes, of course the other fucking industry member is going to adhere to the new industry standard because they can, because other people facilitated it.
Well, they've been given all the cover in the world,
This is not surprising. So all I'm going to say on that
unfortunately.
is everybody saw that coming, and no, PC elitist. This does not mean that it's the end of console game. It does not mean that everybody's going to move to PC. It means that people are going to have to be a little smarter with their purchases. They're going to want to look harder at actual physical media, and I'm talking about on the Xbox and the Sony consoles right now because they still support that in third party
You
the
know,
right way. And I'm going to say it's also going to mean that you're just, as a gamer, you're going to be more careful about your purchases. You're going to want to look harder at AA titles and, smaller studios and things like that. That's all it means. It doesn't mean that the console games are dying this generation, that console gaming is dead. It means you need to have a little more restraint and be a little more careful. And don't trust these big first-party producers of these games because they've already declared their intent.
well, I'm gonna say this. Isn't it funny that it's a hobby that a good quarter of the hobby actively promotes it getting worse for the other quarter or everyone else?
Oh, I don't even, man.
Isn't that a horrible thing? Is like they just
Yeah,
sit there
kind of.
going ha 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 ha, and it's like, hey guys, guess what? This
It's
will
like, yeah,
have
why are we
effects
doing
on.
this?
This is going to affect your
Everybody.
precious PC gaming. If you think that you are somehow going to be immune, Gaben's not going to be in control of that company
No,
forever.
eventually
A
Steam's
Microsoft
going to be
bastard's
under
going to
new
get in there.
management. You know, it's going to
And on
happen
top
sooner or
of it,
later.
there's going to be massive pushes to bring the prices up there. So I'm sorry, guys, but this affects everyone. We shouldn't be rooting against each other. I just
No,
think
it's
it's
stupid.
so damn stupid.
The PC versus console thing should have been over years ago. It's stupid
It
and
should
it's
just be literally
pointless.
what you're playing on. That should
Yeah,
be all that matters
it should be
to
about
some
being a
folks.
gamer. Come on, that's what you're
Hey,
here
look.
for.
Well,
It shouldn't be a
here's the thing.
pissing contest.
Trends in one part of the whole economic situation in this is going to affect everything. So
Yep,
the people who think it's not going that they're somehow immune, you're just at the higher end of the Titanic. You haven't plunged yet.
basically, yeah. And I think that's all I've got to say about it. So
Okay.
we're going to go ahead and end this one here. Thank you for joining us. Hope you guys enjoy our mostly balanced, if grumpy and angry take on some of this dumb bullshit going on.
I
And
just
we
want
will
I just
we will
want
see you
people
in
to
the next
have
one.
good experiences. That's it.
Yeah, well, we've said that before, and anybody who confronts us about this, they always seem to come at us with the, well, you just hate this. No. I
No,
hate
I'm
all
like,
of this bullshit, regardless of its origin. It's why I've gotten so picky about gaming, and the only reason I adhere to only a handful of PC games and the console games I have is because they're the ones I want to play, and that's why I do this shit. Because I want to play
I
games.
I just want it to be good for everybody. So the idea that one group has to lose so another group can feel like they're winning so that they can get turned around and bent over a table by a corporation when
It's
they've
so,
screwed all their natural
yeah.
allies is just dumb to
It's
me.
so bitter and meaningless, and I'm so sick of it. It's just more internet drama nonsense just stretched over to
Uh,
another realm that didn't need
but
to happen.
I'd like to
But
thank
yeah,
everybody and hey, we're gonna, even if you hate us, we're going to continue to advocate for you to get the best product possible. So thanks for joining us, everybody, and have a fantastic day.
see you later, everybody.
Bye bye.